So welcome to day 2. I am so excited because um, there's new assignments for you guys, and we're going to talk about some of the things that we looked at yesterday, and how that's going to work. So you will notice that I am losing my mind again. Okay, so I did post a new comment on the class page where we're looking at share a question you have about Google Classroom, and then also answer that question. I noticed yesterday a number of you guys did some really awesome. Um, you noticed that when you are on somebody's comment, you can reply to the comment and it will tag them, and then you can also comment back and say, so it will tag the person in the comment. And so I do want to kind of can start that. The nice thing about the stream is we can use that as a way to build our community. And so in our classroom, we can use it as a way to build our community too, whether we are in person or away. Because the cool thing is the students will be able to answer questions and share their knowledge. And I know, and this is if we can help them use the stream productively, it'll, turn it into more of a community. So, all right. So go ahead and make sure you're in the classroom, because we'll work straight through that today. The very first thing, so yesterday you created your accounts. The very first thing we're going to do is look at collaborating and sharing. And so if you go in and look at assignment number 3, you'll notice there is no due date for this, and there's also 3 attachments, and these have all been shared as, and so I'm going to edit this assignment so you guys can see what it looks like from the teacher side. These have all been shared as students can edit the file. Somebody in the chat or unmute, pop in and tell me, what does that mean in the big scheme of things? If I give you guys each a file that says students can edit, what does that mean?
It means that everybody can add to that document.
Yes, it does. So it can be utter chaos, or it can be really awesome. Have any of you guys used a collaborative file before with your students? Nobody? So I really like collaborative files because it gives us an opportunity to have a conversation and be able to um, collaborate with each other and have more opportunities to share ideas and resources. Where it gets challenging is people type in the wrong cell, people erase somebody else's work. So you can come up with all sorts of reasons why you wouldn't want to do it. I'm going to pop into the middle school one, and so you're going to see that I created a Google Sheet for each grade level here. So West Side has a lot of teachers here today, so that one is kind of out of control. I mean, there's a lot more people in that one. Middle school and high school aren't as many, and so it's pretty manageable. I really try to add people's names in. And so if you know your class, it is really nice if you can add in your names. In this situation, I've added in our content area because I want to, I just want to know what you teach. I mean, you guys know what you teach and you guys know each other, but I want to know what you teach just for that capability. What I want to do with this is to get us to start thinking about what curriculum we have for our content areas. If there is an online textbook, are there online activities? And how could you share them with Google Classroom? And so the purpose of this is what I've seen with so many curriculums anymore is there is almost always an online something. Whether you have presentation materials, you know, could you translate those into something you could use in Google Classroom? Whether there are online activities in Rapid, they have amazing math resources online that they don't necessarily use because they're not a one-to-one school. And so they may use them a little bit in centers, but when they moved to online learning, it required a shift because those online resources became something that were extremely valuable. But so it's kind of thinking about what do we have already and how can we use that. Some of the things, I mean, because there's so many curriculum out there, I can't answer all the questions, but I do know that many of the resources created some amazing COVID sites, you know, so that you could use their resources fully during COVID. So I would encourage you, if you don't know, to Google your curriculum and see if there is content or resources for using it online now, or to give you guidance there. So the high school page is view only for you. Let's see. Let's see what I did. Oh, it is, because look at this. Look what I did. I said students can only view the file. Hold on, let me change that. Let me save that. Thanks, Janelle. So now I'll go back in. You should be better now. This is why the first crew, that first class period, is always your demo class period. And this is you're the guinea pig section. I'm kidding. You're not really the guinea pig section, but and this is where, when we're doing technology, we really do want our students to be able to say, hey, this isn't working, or I can't figure this out, because it only makes it better for everybody else. All right. So back into that file. The other thing, and there are so many technology tools out there, and one of my favorites is CK12. And that is a math and science and some other resources. And one of their big things is you can share with Google Classroom. And so if I go in and just browse into science, and there's something I want and I'm logged in, I'm able to share content directly with my Google Classroom. And so that is one of the coolest things that I think when you're looking at content, is being able to utilize the resources that are out there and share them directly. And so if I really liked this, I can pop in, I can assign, I can say Google Classroom, and then it wants me to connect to my Google Classroom that very first time. And so many of them are going to ask for that. It is my K-12 one. I have to give it permission, and CK12 is if it connects with Google Classroom has vetted it. You will notice that we have ability to type in some instructions. I can choose what class I want it to be added to. I can essentially schedule it, and I can throw in a due date. And so many options here that I can add it to. So now if I want to, I can assign this and make it go. Notice I can also change the title up here. And so that's pretty awesome, because if I want to keep up with my numbering sequence, I can do that. And so this would be, I think, number 7 if I was going to do that. And I will just throw it out there for you guys so that you can see what it looks like when it pops over. So I'm going to assign it, start date. I'm going to give you the instructions that this is a demo of CK12. Click on assign. And so as you're exploring your technology tools, start looking for that option of using, assigning to Google Classroom or share to Google Classroom, because those are those things that it'll make it a lot easier to integrate those resources, and also integrate the information for your students. So I am going to give you a few minutes now to do this collaborative sheet. And so I will give you guys about 10 minutes to go in and do some collaboration. I will be on the chat. You can unmute and talk to me, but I'm going to be quiet so that you can work.
Julie, where am I finding this collaborative sheet?
So when you're done with this assignment, what you're going to want to do is click on Mark as Done. And so then in your upper right-hand corner, you should see a Mark as Done. You don't need to attach anything, because we did a collaborative document, and I'll be able to see that if you put anything in or not. Some things that you were thinking about as we did this activity was, could you use screenshots or pictures as you're doing the work? And so I'm going to pop back over here. So elementary school, it looks like when I look at elementary, I see a lot of the math and everything is pretty pretty useful. For hands-on activities and for the littles, I have a whole section for you guys today specifically on that, so that you can kind of see about how we can do that, how you can start to translate that into an online environment. Rolling on through. So lots and lots and lots of good stuff here. Some of the other things, when I was flipping through middle school and high school, I noticed that, like, some of the things, we talked about, it's like you're not sure, or you don't have access to the resources, the online component. One of the things that I would consider is, if you have, even if we go remotely, is it possible to have the kids do the activities without, are they able to take their textbooks home with them? Are they able to have the actual physical book? For example, I worked with an 8th grade teacher this spring who used Google Classroom a lot, and she did a reading unit where they were able to find content. She had some physical books. She also, one of the ebook providers opened it up so that she had access to the ebook. And then she also, the audiobooks had access. And so they opened it up so she was able to access as an audiobook. And so she was able to provide like 3 different options for her learners to use this book in her classroom. And so those are those kinds of things where we may need to be really creative as we think about what we've normally done in the classroom and how can we translate that to an online environment. Okay, and so let's see. Let's look at high school. Amanda, you're awesome. Changing color. um, and this is something that when, in that, is there an online component? Are there online activities? Like Amanda, you said yes, but I don't have it. Chelsea, you noted from math that you can't find one for the book that you use. Those are things that I would really encourage you to talk to your administration about. If first of all, think, is this, do we really use the textbook? Because I know, with my kids, many of their textbooks, they didn't even use them. It was one of those things. um, Hold on. Okay, so Tessa, I'll answer that question in just a second. Um, and so so just so you know that we do have options for it, if you want to, if you need the textbook, then having an online component is probably going to be really critical at this point. Either that, or you're going to need to make sure the kids take it home with them. If you don't really need the textbook, then think about other alternatives that you can use to share the information. If you don't have an online version, at this point, after you've decided, it's like, yes, we really need this, then that would be something to bring up to administration so that you can say, hey, is this a possibility? Because if it is a big part of what you're doing, you'll want to make sure your students have access to it. Otherwise, I mean, like for those of you that are using CK12 and they're using some of the other content resources, it isn't as big a deal. Sharon, you noted like your literature and things that, don't know if all or some of the novels are online. And that's going to be something where, depending on what you're reading, if it's in the public domain, you may find it online. You may have access to content through your curriculum. The other thing you may want to consider is if you have access to like an overdrive, getting a class set of those novels so that you can utilize them in an online manner and share them out. The big challenge is copyright, as you guys know. And so if it's a copyrighted material and you don't own it, I mean, so if you find the free PDF online, if you find a PDF of something like Night online, that's copyrighted. And you can't technically use that in a legally. And so it's trying to figure out how to legally share the resources. Um, so those are kind of things that I'm popping through. Corey, you made me laugh that your tech tool is K-12. So that's good. Um, so awesome. So questions, comments, thoughts about some of the things that you were looking at through here in your curriculum, I guess. You guys are so quiet this morning. All right. So I'm going to move on then to the tech tools, and this is my favorite when we think about the add-on type things. You will notice that more and more resources are creating content for you to be able to easily share. And so I would encourage you guys, and so I believe Common Lit actually lets you link your Google Classroom. I'll have to double check on that, but I think that one is one because I've used that one with Google Classroom before, and you can connect. Um, and so nice. So there's quite a few resources that the high school has shared that you can link. Middle school, IXL, yes, IXL is awesome, and extra math, yes. No red ink. Oh, I'm so glad that you noted this, Carissa. The students log in with Google. That is one of the things that really makes life so much simpler if you can use resources that the students are able to log in with Google. And so a lot of the teachers that I work with, one of their policies, quote unquote, that they use in their classroom is if the student can log in with Google when they are using the resource, they go ahead and use it because it saves time and energy for keeping track of all of those accounts. Oh, I love this. This must be band, orchestra. Yay. The iOS camera app and video recording. Yes, that's cool that you utilize the video recording and they uploaded that. That's awesome. Another thing that can be really awesome for that is Flipgrid, because you can do the short recordings and they're really easy to share and they keep them all together for you. And do you guys have Newsela as a subscription? No answer? You don't, Tabitha, do you have Newsela as a subscription? Because that Newsela, if you have it as a subscription, is great because you can share. Oh, you used it in an old district. Okay. So Newsela, it is amazing, Tabitha, as you know, because you can share right from Newsela to Google Classroom. And the other nice thing about Newsela is it automatically differentiates, and so you have a lot of opportunities there to adjust the reading level to various reading levels. So that was why I was excited when I saw that. And then let's look at elementary, what your additional resources are. So, oh, nice. And so you guys you have lots of Chromebooks. You're using Zoom, Promethean Interactive, iPads. That'll be so nice because you can utilize a lot of the technology resources. Um, Save and note exit ticket pages to Google Drive and share. I love that. Amanda, how you're using Zern. That's a really great resource. Extra math. Nice. Okay. So this is good. I mean, because this gives me a lot of ideas, kind of in terms of what you're already using and how you're using it. So now let's pop back over to the assignment because I'm seeing lots of questions on how do we turn it in. So this assignment, I didn't ask you guys to create or do anything. I mean, I asked you to do something, but I didn't ask you to create a file or anything. And so when I'm done, I can click on Mark is done. And it's going to tell me that I didn't attach any work. And so your teacher will just see that it's done. And that's all I want my teacher to see, is that it's done, and that's all the teacher asked for. So I can just say, mark is done. And now it's done, and I don't have to, so as a teacher, I'll be able to go back and see it. As a student, it tells me that I've turned it in. If I made a mistake, I could unsubmit it, and I could say, hey, I need to resubmit this work. I can also add private comments. And so if I wanted to say, you know, I'm still confused about XYZ, I can do that, and then my teacher will see a private comment. And I'm going to pop over to me as a teacher real quick, because now when I look at this assignment, I can see that 38.9 people have turned it in, and that 26 people are, you know, are still assigned. I can now filter, I can sort if I want by first name, last name, or by status. And so right now mine is sorted by status in terms of who's turned it in. And I can look at just who's turned in, or I can scroll down and I can see those students who haven't turned it in yet. And so these are all the students that are assigned that haven't turned it in. So that gives me, and then I was going to, if somebody does a comment on it, the nice thing here is when I'm on my turned in and I scroll on down, if I click on it, let's see, where is my private comment at? It hasn't refreshed, I don't think. Oh, there it is. It just popped in. And this is what I wanted to show you, is you'll notice that the comments show up under the student name too. And so that's really nice. If a student has a question, I can skim through. And in most of my classes, I wouldn't have 60 students in a class. And so it wouldn't be quite as much to skim through as it is with this class. But I can see right here that, oh, look, Julie has a question, or Julie turned in a private comment with this. And so it makes it a lot easier to at a glance see what's going on. So hopefully that helps with the turning in and the questions there. So are you guys good in terms of turning in the document now?
I did not see a turn in choice on the page where I was
Okay.
doing it.
Oh, that's okay.
Maybe I'm blind.
Nope. Here, so I'm gonna unsubmit my work again so that you can see. So when you are, as a student, when you're in Google Classroom and in your assignment, you see the files, and then you should see a mark as done in the upper right hand corner. If you are in the spreadsheet, you don't see anything to turn it in. If we're in the spreadsheet, there's no turn in or anything in the spreadsheet. It's only in the assignment that we see the mark is done. Does that make sense?
Yes, I think I found it now, maybe.
That sounds very confident. So I'm,
How I always sound about technology.
well, good. Then I'll know exactly. So you're doing good.
You got it, Sharon. You got it.
Thank you guys. Yeah, we'll keep cheering you on. I mean, I can sit over here and I can stalk you and see when you turn it in. That would help.
Well, hopefully it's in now, because I think I pressed the right button.
Yep, there you go. Look at you. Yay!
Woo!
Woohoo!
Janelle, you're so funny.
their support. You guys, with all the technology, really, please reach out to each other and talk to each other. I was working with a school district in California, and it was this class we started before the COVID, and so we moved it online, and I'd thrown them into breakout rooms, and they had an assignment, and they were working on it, but the one gal couldn't find it, and the other gal couldn't share her screen, and so who could find it, and they ended up just teaching each other how to share their screen. And it was like so awesome, because this is May. This teacher's been using Zoom for 2 months, and she's like, I just never knew how to share my screen, and I just didn't I just didn't feel like I could ask anybody. And the other teacher was so awesome, and she's like, oh, we have to help each other. And so that's where it's like, oh, if you guys are frustrated with technology, ask, because in most cases, it's a quick question, and then you'll be so good, and so it'll be good. So keep cheering each other on, please, because it's just, this COVID stuff is just it's too hard. We're learning too much too fast to do it in isolation. So anywho, so that was kind of that first example of a collaborative document, and it also acted as a reflection opportunity for you guys to come in and see what you have, see how you're going to share that resource, and start thinking about what you need to do next. So collaborative documents, is that something you think you could use with your students? Go ahead and unmute and chat, or chat. Yes, Sharon, the recordings are posted at the top of the classwork page. And so I struggled with yesterday's, but in class materials, I have the session recording for day 1, and today's hopefully will be much better. So in the
I
chat,
think the right assignment could be used with collaborative documents. I think it depends what you're teaching and what you're, but I can see that it could be useful. That's my comment.
yes, good. It does need to be the right assignment. Can you guys think of some assignments that this would be the right assignment for? You can chat it, you can talk to me.
When I work on cyberbullying, cyber safety, and having the kids talk about different issues with it and what's going on, that would be a good place for them to be able to do it.
Yes. Dan says scenarios like those cyberbullying. I've seen yes, Sarah, collaborative document in middle school does take, like the whole class would definitely be a struggle, just because lots of people, but in smaller groups, definitely manageable. And the nice thing here is you could assign it in such a way that you had small groups within a document. Collaborative notes. Yes, I love collaborative notes, because that can be such a good way to share those ideas and share, everybody can benefit. And the other thing is, if a student is gone during a day, that student will end up with notes at the end of it too. Another item that I've seen in terms of like the study is like vocab words. Have students create a vocab word list together. Peer editing, yes. Oh, Amanda, I'm glad you asked. How do you assign to small groups? So hold on, we'll come back to that. So working together on editing their assignments, yes. And that was kind of where, like, yesterday's assignment, I had you, that was why I had you create your Google Classroom and then drop the link to that in, drop the link to those folders in the class comments, because otherwise I don't know that you guys can't see each other's. If you drop them into the class comments, the link, you can see each other's. And so that's one of the things that makes it a little easier. So let's create a document that we can do small group assignments to. And you guys have to realize that your class is a little out of control, because I do have about 60 people in this class. And so in your classrooms, you would not typically have 60 people in one class. You would have potentially 40, 30, 25, your numbers would definitely not be quite this much. And hopefully you'll know them all. I mean, like, I can't look at you guys yet and say exactly what grade you're in, sorry. So I'm gonna make a new assignment, and I'm gonna call this a collaborative group work. And I'm just gonna assign small group work. And so in this situation, I'm gonna pop into my Google Drive, and let's see, I don't know that I have a great collaborative file in here. I'm just in this situation, I am going to grab just a demo file so that we can use it. So I'm going to do this digital footprint. Okay. And I'm going to say that the students can edit the file. And so I've added a presentation. I've given it small group work. I would give real numbers. I would give real information there, in the sense of I would give real instruction. But now, when I'm doing the assigning over on the right-hand side, at this point, remember, I can pick whatever class I want to send it to. And so I'm leaving it in our class. And now I can pick students. And so default is all students, but if I uncheck that, I can now say that these 4 people whose first names begin with A are the only students that I want to assign to into this group project. And so now I've assigned it to 4 students. I can give it a due date. And actually, I'm gonna assign it to me, to the fake me, so that I can show you guys what it looks like. All right, so it's assigned to 5 students. I would drop it under a topic area because I want to make sure that it stays organized for my students. And now I'm going to click on assign. So what's going to happen now is we've got our collaborative group work. It shows up as on me as the teacher's page. And then for the 4 of you A's that I assigned it to and myself, it also will show up. And so if I pop over on my stream, it says, oh, look, there's collaborative group work. When I go over here and look at day 2, I have collaborative group work, and I can see that it's assigned. If I go in and I view the assignment, I mean, and I would want to give more information, obviously, on this slide deck, but me and the 4 other people that have assigned this assignment to can see this document, and we can edit this document collaboratively. And so the 4 of you that have it, do you want to pop into the assignment too? and then we can see you. And so the other nice thing is I pop back over, I can edit this assignment then, or I can reuse this assignment. So now I can make a new assignment. I can reuse this post and I can say, okay, I want to assign it to another small group of kids. So I can do that. Another way you can do this is you can create classes for your groups. And so say you have a book discussion group and they rotate through, you could very easily create a class and then just the students in that class. And so that's another way to do small group assignments. And so you have a couple of different options there. But if I want to reuse the post, it'll pop up. It'll show me, I pick the class, I can go in, I can find the post, and I could reassign it to another set of people. Oh, I don't know why it's not loading today. Sorry, guys. Ah, there it is. So here's our Sisseton class. Here's our collaborative group work. I want to reuse that. I'm going to grab it. I am going to reassign it now to another group of students. And so I can add a whole nother group of students if I want to. So you have options there to assign to different groups. Another thing that I really like to use is I like collaborative slides. Have any of you guys used collaborative slides? You can do participants, yes, no. Oh, no collaborative slides. Okay, cool. I'll torment you next with collaborative slides. I can't wait. So yesterday you created slides. Collaborative slides are one of my favorite resources, because this is something that we can do in breakout rooms. We can do them in just in Google Classroom. So you have so many options here. So I'm gonna pop out to looking at, so I was gonna go back to my slides. Oh, look, see, there's a whole group of A names now in this file. And so we could now collaborate on this file and all do different work. And I'll show you guys some examples tomorrow of like how that can look in terms of like what you could do with setting that up. Okay. Okay, so we will come back around to collaborative docs or collaborative slides, because that I think can be really a powerful way. Using slides is amazing. I want to look at the stream and see what kind of questions we have going on here and what kind of comments we have. Awesome. What age do you start using Google Classroom? So Google Classroom, we can start using as early as preschool. And one of the resources that I added today, in the middle school, high school people, you don't have to look at it, but I kind of encourage you to, just because there's some really cool interactive ideas. I added the resources for early elementary. Is Google Meet similar to Zoom? Great question. Yes and no. It is, in the sense that we can have face-to-face meetings. It doesn't have, it depends on what you're using Zoom for. Google Meet, I can share my screen, I can have chats, I can do, there's a grid functionality, so I have those similarities. Breakouts are not an option, and I know a lot of teachers don't necessarily use the breakouts, and so that really just depends if that's something that you would use or not. Is there supposed to be a number 4 assignment in the stream this morning? Jennifer, you're not supposed to be able to count like that. Yes, there should be. However, I got stuck and I didn't post it, and so it's not there. But good catch. Um, so yeah, there should be one. How do you make sure the student is actually doing the work when you can't see them and you can't lock things down? Ooh, does anybody have an answer to that? Janelle's awesome question. All right, so the A crew that was in our shared assignment, well, actually, we can do the collaborate and share assignment. I'm going to see who actually did work on this assignment. And so when I'm in the collaborate and share assignment, I can go in and I can go into any one of the files and I can look at version history. Do you guys ever use version history? Yes. You must be an English teacher, Janelle B. Does anybody want to unmute and talk about version history?
I guess I use version history. Sometimes like a student will accidentally delete what they've written and they don't like it and they're freaking out. Sometimes I use that. I usually actually use it when I do like final copies versus first drafts to see what was actually changed.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes. And it's like, isn't it like the best thing ever? So I can go into version history, and it's under file, version history, see version history. At this point, on the right-hand side, I can go in and, so this is a collaborative document, but you guys are all logged in as you. And so I can actually see what people have done. And so if I click on that, now it's going to show me what Michael typed here. At the top of the page up here, you can see that there is one edit. And so, I'm gonna pick on somebody from yesterday, and it's not, not personal. I'm just gonna grab somebody's assignment from their slides, and that way we can go in and we can see who's done the work over here too. And so, oops, I want to view my assignments. Sorry. So when I view the assignments and I see, the people that have turned it in, I'm going to just I'll grab Katie. Okay. So now that I've looked, I'm in Katie's file. At this point, I don't have the same functionality because I'm actually in her file. But if I click on this little drop down here to show the menus, now I can go over, I can see version history, and I can see exactly what she did. And so here's the first one. There's 109 edits here. And then here is the edits that she made. And the nice thing here is I can click on through and see those edits. And so it'll show me as I'm going what exactly those edits are. So this is great if you're doing collaborative work, because I can come in and I can see exactly who's typed different things. And this might be it. And sometimes you might see that, oh, Julie did all the work and Katie didn't do any work. But maybe Julie's the typer and Katie is the researcher, and that's how they collaborated. And so maybe having them reflect on their work in the sense of saying, when, before you turn in the assignment, describe how your team worked together, so that you can, or have them individually reflect and say, describe how your team worked together, what did each team member do, et cetera, so that you can have those conversations. But the version history is like the best thing ever. The other nice thing is like was pointed out, if a student forgets, like they accidentally delete something, going back to the version history is great because it gives the opportunity to pull up the resource again and say, oh, here's your content. I use it all the time in shared collaborative documents because somebody's like, oh my gosh, my stuff was there, now it's gone. And you're like, no worries, we can fix that. And you can, and that's the best part is that you can fix that. And it's just good. So other ideas, other questions, comments on that?
Julie?
Yes.
Can you just go through those couple steps to get to the version history again?
Of course. So I'll pick on somebody else. Let's see. Who should I pick on? Krista, I'm going to pick on you. Nothing personal. So when I go in and I look, my headings are minimized, but what I need to look for is file. And so in Google, the little caret is always kind of like a clue that there is more to find. And so if I click on that, now I see the menus, and it's file, version history, and then I can see version history. And so like you could name a current version, and this could be really great if, and we could even teach you could even teach your kids to do this in the sense of saying, your first draft, I want you to name that version first draft. And so then you can actually come back and see different versions. So now when I pop in and look at Carissa's, I see that at 9:29 yesterday, there are 7 edits. And 9:23 a.m. there are 109, and that's because that was when it was created for her, and so she didn't really do that 109. Sorry, Carissa. But so I could also now use the little carets here to scroll up and down and see what changes were made to the document. And so it gives me that information. So I can also, if I want to, I can go back to the previous versions. And so I could restore this version. I don't want to because obviously she's done a lot of work on it. But if somebody has, if something's just gone off the rails entirely, you can restore. So you have options there. Does that help? So version history is a really great way to try to figure out who's doing the work and how they're doing the work. How do you troubleshoot attaching files at a distance? That's a great question. Does anybody have any suggestions about what's worked for them in terms of troubleshooting attaching files? You guys are so quiet today.
Julie,
Yes.
I just want to jump on that about attaching files. Just in talking in email, so teachers know, we need to know the difference between when I'm attaching a cloud-based file versus a file that maybe is saved to the desktop. We do run into problems sometimes when teachers, I know this isn't dealing with students in Google Classroom, but I just wanted to talk about it, to know the difference in those two when attaching those files. That they're different. I mean, a cloud-based Word document in Office 365 is definitely different than a Word document that's attached that has been installed on the computer itself. We sometimes run into problems where teachers are trying to open a shared file from a staff member that was shared via the cloud, and that teacher then doesn't have permission because of prior settings to open that document. So there is some confusion in there, and there's some things that we'll cover again at a later date, but I just wanted to throw that out there. Just throw a hiccup in your little presentation.
Thank you. I needed that. Is it Monday again? No, and that actually that is, so like yesterday we talked a lot about sharing Google, and what those sharing settings look like and how that looks. The Microsoft is, anytime we're in the cloud, sharing does get to be, you have to look at the permissions. And so when some of the things, in terms of like how to help students attach assignments, how to troubleshoot, when we're looking at classwork, and I'll go over and look at me as a student again. So I'm back over here, and now I'm in my collaborative group. What you'll find is if I say add or create, and this is an assignment that didn't have a file attached to it, it'll send me out to my Google Drive. It'll also, I can create new. This is where if they create new, it's going to keep it with this assignment. And so now you can see that I've made a document in my assignment here. And so when I want to come back and work on it again, so if I go away and I'm going to go back to my assignments, and I'm going to go back and view my assignment, you'll see that my work is here. If I have assigned something that is, so let's look at day one. I don't think I haven't turned it in because it's still due. And so this one, there was a copy made for me. So if I click on view my assignment, the work is in my your work file. And so it looks different than the teacher side, because on the teacher side, because I had it as a, I just see all my files here. From the student side, you see your work and you see your non-work. So I guess what I would really encourage your students to do to help them keep track of their work is create it within an assignment, and then then it will be there. Does that make sense? If they need to add or create and add a file from their computer or add a link, at that point, this turns into more of that file management, and file management is really hard. I mean, it's hard for adults. And so this is where, what's really nice, so I'm going to pop in as a student here. You'll notice when you are in my class as a student, at the top of your page, you have your class drive folder. And all I see in my class drive folder are my files that I've created for this class. And so that is all that I see here. I don't see anything else. And so that too can be helpful if you have them creating files only in, so this is only in my Google Classroom Assistant class. And so I have other classes that will have other folders. So I guess some of it's folder management and organization, and some of it is, just kind of helping them see where their files are located. Does that help answer the question? Oh, good. Teresa, you had my favorite question of the day. Can you turn off Google notification to your email? So you don't have to, Janelle, you don't have to share the screenshots with us. I'll show you how to do it right now. And so, and if you have a video, Janelle, though, if you want to share that, that would be great if you made a video. That was one of the things I wanted to show you guys today, because I'm assuming that you're starting to get notifications from me, and I am getting notifications from you like crazy. And so how do we manage that? So when we're in Google Classroom, and this can be you as a teacher or you as a student, you have your hamburger menu. If we scroll all the way down, you see your settings. In your settings, this is where we look at your notifications. And so as a student, I have the same control as the teacher does. And so this is, you know, like you noted, Tara, that you created, you know, how to set them up for your students. You can control what you get information on, what you get emails on. So comments on posts are what we see when comments on posts are what I see when I post and you guys comment. Comments that mention me, those are those replies or when you've used the plus and my email address. Private comments on work. That's when you add a private comment on something. And so truly, I may only want to have, I may not want to know when somebody comments on my post because it gets to be overwhelming, but I may want to know when students do private comments on work because that isn't something that comes in very often. So here, because I'm enrolled in stuff, I can I can say, you know, if I want to get work in posts, if I want to get returned work in grades, if I want to get invitations to join classes as a student, and if I want to get due date reminders on my work. And so I have that control. For the classes I teach, I can get notifications on late submissions, resubmissions, invitations, or scheduled posts that published or failed. Then as we scroll on down, now I can turn on and off notifications for a specific class. And so if I do not want to get notifications for this class anymore, I can turn that off. And so you will want to, you know, kind of think about what notifications work best for you and how they work best for you. You can also set up email filters in your email. And that's something that I did in my email, just to kind of keep everything together so that it's not clogging up my inbox and I have everything in a folder. So you do have some options there too. So that's a really great question, great discussion, and I'm glad you posted it. Oh. And actually, I have a resource on how to manage your notifications that I'll drop here too in a couple seconds. So, other questions, comments, thoughts? All right. So I'm going to give you, we've got about a half an hour left, but we have been kind of doing this for a while. So I'm going to give you a quick 5-minute break. So at the top of the hour, make sure you're back. I will be here to answer any questions or comments, and we will keep rolling. Oh, Janelle, I love that slide presentation. That's awesome. Hold on, wants me to sign in. Let me go. So Sharon, that is a really great question in terms of like how are you going to share this with your students? How are they going to use the resources? Google support has a lot of resources, and I use that often, to kind of figure out how to make stuff go. And this is from Janelle, and this is awesome, Janelle. And this is one of those things that really you can share very easily. So this is something, Janelle, would you mind if anybody used this in your class, in your school?
Nope, I don't mind if anybody uses it. I was actually going to share it out to the staff, and I can't take credit for all of it. I found it on the Google site and I revamped it to my class.
But still, somebody's made it. And so Sharon, grab that. um,
Well,
and
you're my
Janelle,
hero.
your coworkers really are your best resources, especially, I mean, they've always been, but right now they're even more important. So
I see that.
Janelle, if you want to drop that into the stream potentially too, that would be great, because I think that's there are so many tutorials and so many things out there that it can be overwhelming, but like this is a really great one. It's very, very to the point, and I love it. So
I'll probably use it myself.
cool. All right, so the last little bit of time, you guys have been kind of rolling through, I added for the Teacher Center has put together your first day of all of these different resources. And here again, this is something that I use when I'm trying to figure out, how to get started on it, how to get going. And so the Google Forms, it gives you a lot of information on how to get started with Google Forms. What the assignment for this is to create a form or quiz, share the link so that your colleagues can look at it and fill it out, so that way you'll actually get some data. And then when you're all done, you can mark as done when you complete the assignment. And so I'm noticing that I've got some class comments already, which is awesome. Ooh, nice. Teacher form to input to collect data for upcoming IEP meeting. Let's see if I can see it. Oh, this is awesome. This is really great. And so one of the things that you'll notice with this, and I could live in forms because you have so much capability to gather information. And so when you use a form, you also can get a spreadsheet that you can then come back and continue editing. So that's the quizzes and forms. And I also want to touch on the working with Google, working with Littles and Google. And so you'll notice here that I have a notification. And if I click on that and view the assignment, that shows me that somebody has given me a private comment, I believe. I could be wrong. Not sure what that means. I'll find out. Anyways, going back, working with the littles. This is one of my favorite resources because I have one class comment. Elizabeth, you love the interactives. And Teachers Pay Teachers has tons, though I'm going to tell you it is way worth it to just, create some comment, create some consistent ones and share them with your colleagues, and then they'll be what you use in your district rather than something that you've purchased from another source. So why I shared Tracy or Christy Pinto's GAFE for Littles is because really I hear from every age, oh, it'll take the kids too long to log in. It'll take the kids, it's just not worth it. I'm not using technology because it's too hard. I love her attitude. And one of her biggest things is she really emphasizes, no, no, littles are young kids. Yes. Yeah. You're not dumb, Sharon, at all. Littles are young kids. And Christine uses Google with like preschool kids. And so, and I was just blown away. But then when you read about her and you read about the work that she does, what she does is she makes sure that the kids practice logging in. And so on this post, there is an actual video that you can watch that shows a student who's 4 logging into Google Classroom. And so it's like, it's one of those things that, I love it because it gives me that, they can do it. She also has some really great activities to try. Inserting shapes into Google Drawings or slides, sorting objects, which is like so fun, and some different ideas of how to utilize. And so I shared this post with you guys, but then I also shared her digital centers for littles, because these are things where as we're thinking about two different areas right now. We're thinking about, what do we do when we're face to face in the classroom, but also what do we do if we end up being remote? And so a digital center is something that we can use in both scenarios. And so this is, she's so awesome. And I want you to notice, excuse me, I want you to notice her instructions. She's like, click on open, click on the attachment. So she gives some instructions, but she also has them do a ton of visual. So they go to Google Classroom, they go to her class, they go to the stream. And so they know how to do that. That's something that's been practiced. This first one, and the nice thing is she gives you the templates, and so that you can actually go in and see, you can make them. You can sort objects. There's a template for this one. You can represent numbers, and so students insert shapes to correspond with the number on the slide. She also gives us a create in graph. A control C center. Oh my gosh, you guys, the copy paste. And so this is control C and control V. And so, I think about, lots of people need help with that. And so what a fun way to teach students how to do that. So these are just some sample centers that you can utilize with Google and with the littles to help them log in and help them use the resources. So what I want to do next is I do want to pop back over to look at the chat real quick. But then I also want to spend a little bit more time in Google Forms so that we can make sure that that is one of those resources that you can use so many different ways. And I want to make sure that everybody is comfortable with that. So when we're in Google Forms, and we can kind of look at all the resources here, but I'm gonna actually create a form. So I'm gonna go to my Drive, and I'm going to make a new. And one of the things that can be really frustrating is when we are in Google Drive, Forms lives under More. So I'm going to click on Forms. And what they've done is they've recently made it so you can import questions from other forms. And so this is great if there's a form, you know, that I'm making a new form, but I want to ask a question that I've used before. I want to gather information. I can now import. So here are some of the kind of nitty gritty things. When we come in, it's blank, it's untitled, demo quiz. And you'll note when I typed it down here, it automatically filled it in up here. It does not go vice versa. If I type demo quiz up here, it will not fill it in down here. Form description is optional. The top of the page here, we have our awesome themes, and so you can upload your own headers, you can set colors, background colors, you can do different font styles if you want, so you have some options. The preview will show you your quiz or your form wherever you're, you know, as you're working on it. Does anybody see how I could quickly get back to editing my form? You can chat me, you can unmute.
Little thing in the bottom right.
Yes, the pencil in the bottom right. And so that is one of the things when a lot of times you'll end up with the view form. As long as you are logged into the Google account that you created this form in, you should see the edit form in the bottom right. So yes, thanks guys. But I want to make sure that you have that. So now I'm going to go back and I'm going to click on the settings. So in Google, I always check the settings because you never know how they're going to be set. So collecting email addresses. I do a lot of collecting email addresses because I want to make sure that I know who submitted a form. What are response receipts? Those are hey, here's what you submitted to the form. And you can have it if respondents request or always. A lot of times I do always because I want people to know, you know, that they filled out the form and they, you know, here's what they said, just so they end up with that information. But if the information is optional, I don't. So collecting email addresses, if I restrict to users of the state of South Dakota, that requires users to sign in. And in the school setting, if you're doing this through Google Classroom, they will need to be signed in anyways. But if you're sending this to people, like if you're going to send this quiz to your parents, you're going to want to make sure this is not checked. This limiting to one response will prevent students from going back and filling out multiple times. You'll notice here that if you do that, they'll be required to sign into Google too. And then you can also do, can respondents edit after they submit, or can they see summary charts and text responses? I typically don't do that, but I can see if I was gathering like some informal data to like, how do you get to school? Bus, walk, drop off, and you wanted to use that as a discussion point in class, then seeing the summary charts and text responses could be useful. Next over is our presentation. Here we can show our progress bar, shuffle question order. Some teachers like this, some teachers don't. You're just gonna have to I mean, if you want to make sure that people sitting next to each other aren't getting the same question at the same time, it can be useful. Totally up to you. And then there's a confirmation message. And so this is just the little message that pops up when you're all done. And then quizzes, my favorite thing ever. So you can make this a quiz. Once you've done that, you have the ability to turn on locked mode, and that's only in Chromebooks. I can release the grade immediately after submission or later after manual review, which you'll notice it turns on email collection. And this will depend. Somebody yesterday noted that, you know, when they put in fill in the blanks, they were marked wrong, or, you know, they weren't, depending on what kind of questions you ask, you may want to do manual review, especially if you ask for a reflection. The other thing you can do is you can turn them back immediately, and then just have some of the questions be non-graded. So you have some options. You can also share what respondents can see. So I'm going to click on save. And now we have a demo quiz. We are collecting email addresses, so that will be asked to be typed in. And my next question, I can add. And so that just gives me, adds in another question. So if I pop back up, so this for me, is where it gets kind of clunky, is I'm editing. Now I have another question down here. And so you just kind of need to pay attention here. So when you're in the blue box, this is the one we're editing. I have different question types. I have short answer, paragraph, multiple choice, checkbox, drop down. Multiple choice is one answer. Checkbox means I can do multiple answers. And so there's multiple, I can check as many as I need. Drop down is just a drop down. And you're gonna wanna think about where your kids are at. File upload lets files lets respondents upload files. And so that is something that a lot of teachers do utilize, but respondents do need to be signed in to do that. There's linear scales, there's multiple choice grids, and a checkbox grid. You can also ask for the date and the time. Okay. So we're going to do a quick graded one. And so I'm going to do just a silly math question. So we'll do 4 + 4, or an easy math question. I guess it's not silly. 8, 10, 2. And so I've put in 3 options and I click on the answer key. Now you'll note I need to choose the correct answers. And so that one's my correct answer. And I can add answer feedback. And so I can say for incorrect answers, oh, it's, you know, try again, or review something, and then this one, good job. So I can also note that I can insert a video from YouTube. And so this is great if I wanted to say, okay, you missed, you know, here's how to do basic addition type of thing. So you can give those instructions. So you can use it as reteaching. I can also assign the points. And so I can say this is a 5-point question. So now if I say done, here I have my question. You'll notice down here I have the answer key. So if I want to go back and edit it, I can copy this question. If I just want to duplicate it, I can delete it. I can make it required. I can also click on my 3 dots. And I can do a couple of different things. I can change the description, or I can add a description if I want. And that can be if I, you know, wanted to add more detail, I can add in that description. I can make it have logic. I can also shuffle the option order. So I'm going to add another quick question, and I'm going to make that one be a short answer question. And so here we're in a question that we are grading. I want you to notice that any of these I can upload an image to. And so like if you're working with young kids, you can, or non-readers, you can add in images. when I go to my answer keys, let me see. So here, what you'll notice, it popped up and it told me that response validation has been turned on. And so here I have response validation. And that is, I can change, I can say, I can make it be, you know, it has to be so many characters, it has to be so few, it can be, I can say text contains, I can make it say a word. So I do have answer validation. I also have I can add a correct answer here. If you're doing fill in the blank, one of the things you're going to want to think about is, like, this one is kind of a open-ended, but if it has an answer, how many different ways are you going to accept spelling, punctuation, capitalization? Because it will count all of those incorrect. If I spell the answer wrong, even though it's the right word, but it's spelled wrong, it'll count it incorrect. And so, like, for example, who's the first president? If I say Washington and you have the correct answer as George Washington, it's going to count it wrong for me. So I need to be really, if I'm doing the fill in the blanks, I need to really be cognizant of that. So just so you know, that can be really a struggle when you're doing the fill in the blanks on a quiz. When I'm done with my quiz and I want to share it out, I do need to click on send. At this point, I can, so this I made outside of Google Classroom. So I can just leave it here, and I can add it as an assignment to my Google Classroom just by going to my Google Drive. I can also, if I'm sending out the link, I can just send out the link by clicking on the link and sending that out. Responses. When responses start coming in, they'll show up here. And I do love that I can see that it'll make charts and graphs. One thing I also really like is making a spreadsheet, because then it turns into a Google Sheet that now has all of my questions, and I can see all of the responses as they come in. And so that turns into a document that I can work in differently. So the other thing you can do, and this is great if you're doing like a sign up, if you're doing, like, I use Google Forms a lot for sign up for XYZ, and it's not all the time. I will get email notifications for a new response. And so I get notifications when people turn in an assignment through a Google form because they're on a self-paced course. So you have some options there for notifications that are really nice. So that is pretty much a quick form. And so it doesn't answer for partial credit. It doesn't have that option. You can always go in and add more options. You can always go in and override. And this is where for me it's really frustrating, because you don't end up with as much options with those automatically graded forms as you would like. Let's see, what other questions do we have? All right. One other quick thing with creating questions, and so I'm going to add another question, is you have the short answer and the paragraph. And so paragraph will give you that long answer text if you want to do that. And so in this one, you'll notice that all I can really do is give feedback. I don't have options to do the correct or incorrect answer. So you have options there for grading. All right. So that is pretty much quizzes. So we have talked about so many things again today. So your assignments today, should you choose to choose to do them, we did the collaborative and share curriculum. I encourage you all to go in and look at the Working with Littles and Google Docs, just because it's got some really good ideas and can help you as you're starting to think about that communication. And then finally, the Google Forms and quizzes. I really do encourage you guys to create a form, share them along with comments. And so if you do fill them out, then your teacher, your colleagues will get some data to check out. So we'll be back at 3 o'clock today to do office hours. And office hours, really, guys, come and ask questions. So Jamie, we need to get your accounts figured out. Anybody else, if you have other questions, this is just a perfect time to try to figure out what we're doing and how we're doing that. Of course, so how we get to forms is we go to our Google Drive, and then we have to say new, and then you have more, and then you can say forms. And so that's how we get to forms. You can also, remember yesterday, Corey talked about the waffle at one point. When you are logged in, you can click on the waffle, and you'll see all of the options that you have access to, and forms is there too, and that'll take you straight into forms this way. So you have a couple of different options. All right, so is there any other questions or thoughts before we wrap it up for this morning? And I can't wait for you guys to come back this afternoon and ask questions and show me your classrooms and all that stuff, because this is really a chance to see what's going on.
Would you show how to add a new question?
In Google Forms?
Yes.
Yes, I can. So in Google Forms, I'm going to go back to my demo quiz. So here, if you click on the little plus, it will automatically add a question. I also do a lot of duplicating questions, because in most situations, I'm just going to be modifying. A lot of the stuff will be the same, and so I can quickly modify. But the plus adds. If I want to pull in from another form, I can click on the import. And let's see, I have a lot of blank quizzes. So like this one, I can select this quiz. And what it shows me is it shows me what I can import. And so I'm going to grab them all just because I can. And now I've brought in questions from another quiz that I've already created. And so here, this is an image. And so I can go in and I can edit it if I want to. I can change this picture if I want to. I can remove it. And so all this is a picture that has been added in, that I added in another form. And so this was for counting. And then my question to go with this picture was, how many apples? And so that was how that was structured. I can also add in videos if I want to. So if I want to add in a short video, note it does have to come from YouTube. I can add in a text or a title. And so if I wanted to add in a section, I can add in a section. And then I can also add a section, and that will allow me to do multiple pages and or some logic if I wanted to add in logic. And logic can be really great if you want to do reteaching or things like that, because if they get it wrong, they go here. If they get it right, they go on to the next question.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, any other questions, thoughts, comments? All right, well, I will see you guys back at 3 o'clock. So Jamie, we're gonna look at your accounts and all your logins and everything. And anything else, just come on in and we'll see what options you have and what some of the best options are.